Washington football. Woo! Absolutely. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed. The Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.letsitfrederick.com. And we are rejoined by a very special guest, Washington fan and just football aficionado, Mr. Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Ryan. How you doing?
Yeah, always appreciate you guys having me on. It's look, we're one day away from pads. We're less than 24 hours till pads, but look, training camp is getting going and football's around the corner. And we got preseason football this week, Jets and Browns. So
yeah, it started.
Yes,
Yeah.
Everyone is so happy to hear about Aaron Rodgers taking his pay cut. I'm sure they'll be mentioned 30 times during that broadcast, Ryan. But to wrap this around the quarterback position, it seems that Sam Howell has started out really well at training camp. Has had some hiccups as of late. Give us your opinion on that. Are you panicking at all with those kind of news, or is this par for the course?
Yeah, I'm not panicking at all. I know this is really kind of the part of the course right now where it's a new quarterback, new system, second year, right? New second system, second season. But really, this is our first full year of Sam Howell coming in as the guy in meeting rooms, in practice. And it just really goes back to all levels of football to where defense is, look, you can just get guys on defense and have them run around with their hair on fire. Offense is just not that easy, whether it's 7-on-7, 11-on-11, 9-on-9, it doesn't matter. From the language in the huddle to getting guys live on the outside, forever Sam Howell approaching line of scrimmage and saying, hey, where are the safeties at? Because that's what I'm looking for first. High, low, what's their depth? So it's going to take time. It's not going to be perfect. We're not going to go out here and expect that it's going to be Patrick Mahomes type of seamless transition offense. Don't expect that. But look, you guys know my thoughts on Sam Howell. I love his skill set. I really do. I'm confident in his ability, both up here and with his ability with his arm and with his leg. So I'm not panicking. I'm not grabbing my pitchfork and ready to approach Ron Rivera's house or anything like that right now. Let Eric Bieniemy do his things. There are guys on the outside to make his life easier. He's going to get in rhythm early. So I'm excited for Sam Howell, and I'm just fine with where he's at right now.
Yeah. I mean, you guys heard it here first. If Sam Howell is not Patrick Mahomes 2.0 year one, he's a bust. You heard it here from Ryan Fowler. But another young stud that people seem to be pretty excited about. Everybody wants to talk about Emmanuel Forbes. I'm excited to see what Quan Martin does. How has he been used, and how do you think that he's going to be in this defense his rookie year?
Yeah, versatility remains king. You can't come into 2023 NFL either side of the ball, really any facet of the game, and just be a static athlete. And obviously, day two pick, he's someone that's going to come in and have an impact right away, whether he's at slot, whether you bump him outside. At Illinois, he played high, he played that low hole. He can do whatever. And then, especially like I mentioned at the top with pads coming on, it's so nice to see these offensive, sexy pieces move around in T-shirt and shorts. But when you get pads on, you can tell who's ready to show up and who's soft, because look, it's the NFL. I get it, but there are guys in this league that are soft, that are prima donnas, that don't want to get hit, that when you get some contact, they shy away a little bit. And if you do, you're not going to make a final 53, especially on this defense, to where at every single level, there's alphas, and you got to show up every single day. So Quan Martin, look, he'll knock your chin strap off in the run game. He'll press you at the line of scrimmage and force you to get off. I'm so excited to see Quan Martin, just like you are. I know Emmanuel, right? The ball production, the long, lanky, almost Slim Reaper type of look on the outside. He's gotten all the attention. I'm right with you. I'm so excited to see Quan Martin, especially when we're working the preseason, where we won't see him too much, I don't expect, but it's just his physicality, the smarts, the athleticism, athlete, football player, combine it, get a hell of an athlete on your defense.
So how do you think he fits, like the depth at cornerback and then the depth at safety? I know that it's kind of a logjam there with some of these young guys. How do you think they're going to find ways to get him on the field?
First off, I love it. Competition makes everybody better, and they're all young pieces. I mean, we've seen it from Cam Curl. He wants his money. The guy wants to be paid. We know that. But, I mean, Percy Butler, where is he going to play? I don't want him low. I want him sitting high in that center field type of role that he played at Louisiana Lafayette. But I think Quan is better in coverage than what Derek Forrest could offer you, because Derek was drafted as a safety, but he plays low. He plays at that second level. He can play in coverage and also not afraid to obviously stick his face in the run game. But just from a coverage perspective, aligning him in the slot to where teams want to move their X's and their wide receiver ones inside because they want those free releases. Well, Quan's not going to give you those free releases. You're going to have to get off the line of scrimmage. And when he does have to flip and run, or he does have to use his hands inside that contact window, he can do that. And then he's not going to have the ball production like Emmanuel Forbes or either of these corners that we may see. But inside out versatility, it just remains king. And I'm excited to see these young pieces on defense where this secondary as a whole, as you guys mentioned, there's ball players everywhere, just flying around with their hair on fire.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that with the offense kind of finding its footing the first couple of weeks of the season, I do think it's going to be up to the defense to kind of hold it down until the offense kind of like I said finds their way. But sticking with the offense, I think we all think that and have the optimism that we think that we might have a guy in Sam Howell if everything comes together. But we all know it starts with the guys up front, the 5 big uglies. And that's a big question going into the season. The pads are going to come on tomorrow, so we're going to actually see how they look and how they gel. Do you think that the offensive line is going to be able to come together and gel if they all can stay healthy enough to kind of protect Sam Howell and get this offense going?
Yeah, as many questions as there are with that front 5, and it's also a great question, but just you look at who they're going against every single day, and that's only going to help them because they're not facing John and Duran and Chase and Montez every single week. I mean, Arizona, sorry, but there's some Power 5 teams that have more talent along their defensive front than what Arizona does. And I'm not hating on Arizona. It's the NFL, but there are more fundamentally talented college programs up front, specifically, than what we're going to see with Arizona. It is really ugly within their defensive front. But yeah, the front 5, look, for me, I still have my questions with Sadiq Charles. I just still drafted as a tackle, now sliding him into guard, still in the building, doesn't have the length that I like, doesn't have the movement skills and athleticism. He's going to look really pretty as a puller, but having to anchor against a 310-pound guy, a Fletcher Cox or Jalen Carter, or you see Dallas drafted Mozzie Smith, those types of guys, I just have questions. And then you bring in Braden Daniels and Ricky Stromberg and Chris Paul is competing in year 2, young pieces, but all those guys have to mesh at some point, and you're going to have to find that 5. Charles Leno at left tackle, is he your bona fide left tackle protecting Sam Howell's blind side? I don't know. I know the viral clip that's gone out of Chase Young working him in practice last week. We've seen Charles Leno up and down, but the front 5, we don't have a damn offense if we don't have a front 5. Doesn't matter who you got. Look at the Super Bowl with Tampa and Kansas City. Doesn't matter who you got. So front 5, show up, compete. I'm giving everybody a chance to show up and compete, from Andrew Wiley on the right side to Charles Leno on the left side. Whoever wants to show up and show out every single day, that's going to be my best front 5. And I'm not just giving people spots because they've been in the building a little bit of time.
And to piggyback off of that, Ryan, of Hall's question about the O-line, Chris Paul got work with the ones today at practice. Yeah. Kind of talk to us about that idea of, do you like the idea of Chris Paul being there?
I do. Watching him at Tulsa, small school kid. Look, Sadiq's been in the building a long time, but I just haven't seen anything. And then you look at Chris Paul and his start against Dallas, to where they were playing for something. I think that's something that we need to remember is Dallas was playing for something. And they did get exotic at times in defense in that last week of the season at FedEx Field. And I liked what I saw from Chris Paul. I even liked what I saw from him down at the Senior Bowl in the pre-draft process. Just someone that lunch pail type of guy, not from a big time school, just coming in and it's going to show up every single day and going to be on a cheap contract, day 3 pick, late on day 3. So you may have some value there. Just show up and compete. And I think that's what I've appreciated with Martin Mayhew and Ron Rivera as a whole is doesn't matter where you're getting drafted, just compete. You're not given anything. Snaps should be earned. I'm just always a proponent of that. And look, defensive line, bottom line, it's a humongous question for the overall arc of this offense and really the interior. Nick Gates, Ricky Stromberg, Braden Daniels, I'm giving all those guys shots within the middle especially.
Yeah, absolutely love to hear that. Now, Terry McLaurin had a presser today, and he had some comments in there regarding the quarterback and saying that, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, this is a quarterback-driven league, and we're still searching for ours. So the Washington fan base, of course, was saying, what? What about Sam? How do you interpret those comments, Ryan? Because I have a different viewpoint.
Yeah, it's I get it. Also, Terry wants to be in that upper echelon of tier 1 wide receivers, and he's not going to get that respect until he has someone in the pocket that actually sling it to him with some confidence. I think we're going to see that this year with Sam Howell. He's going to stretch the field both vertically and east to west. I don't think he's had a guy in the building that can do that. I know, look back to his debut with Case Keenum in Philadelphia, and Terry McLaurin really burst onto the scene. I'm not worried about. I'm not going to make a big deal of Terry McLaurin and his comments. Terry McLaurin is Terry McLaurin. He can say what he wants at this point, and people are going to listen too inside that locker room. He shows up every single week and he's a leader, both with his play and with his voice. So if I'm Sam Howell too, look, I got to prove myself. This is the NFL. So what have you done for me lately? We have one sample size. In training camp, there's ups and downs. We get that, but this is for him an opportunity to show up or show out. And Terry wants his catches. He wants his receptions. He just got paid. He wants to be also treated, like a tier 1 receiver that we all, I think, believe he is. He just doesn't get any respect from anybody else because nobody watches Burgundy and Gold football.
Yeah, and that's what the comment I had made earlier is that, Terry McLaurin, all through his career here in Washington, has just known tumultuous, chaotic quarterback situations. Yeah. I'm sure he's been waiting for 17 games. So let's not anoint Sam as a starter quite yet. Let's get 17 games out of a healthy starting quarterback. That'd be great.
Exactly right.
And speaking of Terry, speaking of the wide receivers, the one thing that this offense does not lack is explosive plays and explosive weapons. But there's a guy named Dyami Brown who has looked very good so far in camp. How do you think they can find ways to utilize him?
I love it. First off, good for Dyami.
4 wide receivers deep?
Yes, exactly. My podcast, Commanding the Huddle, last week, I said, I want Dyami Brown to force me to put my foot in my mouth because I want him to show up. Because outside of the Tennessee game and just him running 9 routes, where's Dyami Brown been? Right now, he's wide receiver 4, but they also brought in Marcus Kemp and they brought in Byron Pringle. And Kaz Allen has also looked explosive, and he could be that weapon X. It also provides some special teams value. But then that relationship we talked about with Dyami and Sam at Carolina, we saw in the first week of camp. And good, because you can never have enough guys on the outside that understand how to separate. But a lot like with what teams are going to do against George Pickens this year, because all George did really for last year with Pittsburgh was run 9 routes.
Yep.
What can Dyami do at a variety of depths? And also, when I need him to, be a lead blocker on a screenplay for Jahan on a designated touch. Because there were times last year where he looked completely uninterested in doing that. And for me, you're not a top 3 receiver on our team. You're not blocking. Well, you can sit down and hold a clipboard. You may look good in a uniform, but you're not going to play for me. So you got to do a little bit of different things. So bottom line, I'm happy, guys, for Dyami Brown in the first week of camp. It is early. Want to see him in pads against these talented corners as well. Even one-on-one matchups, it's going to test him. But bottom line, I am excited for Dyami Brown because he has to show up. Day 2 pick. People forget, this is a day 2 pick. Yeah. Jahan came in. Curtis came in. Got some guys at the back end. Never have enough guys that separate. So I'm right there with you. Dyami Brown, good for showing up in week 1. Now it's just continuing to get better and better and better.
He flashed in a game last year. That one big game.
Tennessee, yep.
Yeah, hopefully he keeps building on that UNC connection with Howell. And like you said, he'll make a lot of people put their foot in their mouth because I think when we drafted him, a lot of people were like, okay, this guy can be something. He's like, I think he has, 17 catches and in his 2-3 years he's been in the league so far. So definitely got to get his game going. But
yeah, it's crazy Kyle makes people put his foot in their mouth during the weekend.
Just going to say real quick, and to your point earlier, Fowler, about putting the pads on tomorrow and seeing which players can play with that physicality. It's great that you're doing it in shorts and a T-shirt right now, Dyami, but we need you to be consistent with it throughout camp, in pads, and through the season. Sorry.
Yeah, and speaking in the season, throughout the season, obviously there's been an ownership change. The Harris group has come in. There's been a lot of excitement. You saw 10,000 plus fans at training camp this past weekend, which it's been years since there's been a crowd like that out there at Ashburn and supporting the team. So my question is, there's a lot of hype right now. There's going to be obviously a lot of hype going into week 1. It's probably going to be a sold out, if not close to a sold out game. A lot of Burgundy and Gold fans. Do you think that all this hype and all this excitement with the new ownership, the excitement with the fan base around Sam Howell, not so much the national media, but the fan base has a little bit of excitement about Howell. Do you think that's going to keep carrying over throughout majority of the season, or do you think that if they hit a rough patch or they start the Ron Rivera special where they start slow in the season, do you think that the excitement kind of goes away, or do you think that everyone's just on a high right now because of the sale?
Yeah, I think bottom line, I am so happy that there has just been provided this oxygen into the lungs of the fan base right now, because we really haven't seen, like you said, for really a decade since RG3 in his first practice and people showing up to see him. But I think there may be even that rough patch early portions of this year because, here's lowly Arizona rolling into town, open up the season at FedEx Field. Well, here comes Denver, Buffalo, and Philly right after that. And Denver will be better this year with Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. They absolutely will. So the expectations right now, I think, should be better than 500 football. I mean, I think that's the floor. I think we can lock in and say that this team's floor is 500 football because we've seen that for the last 3 years of Ron Rivera. But the talent is there, and I just don't want this team to fall into the stigma of being a spreadsheet team. And what I mean by that is just looking at them as a spreadsheet and say, oh, here's talent and here's talent, but they don't execute on game day. I don't want them to fall into that stigma. But bottom line, the hype, the excitement, I think it's tangible. I feel it. I know you guys feel it. But they may hit a rough patch early in the season. It's just about managing those waves. They may start out slow, Ron Rivera. Right, that's what you said as far as the last few years, start out slow, get going late. But they got to test the first month of the season. Arizona's going to be fun. They go out and blow out Arizona. People are going to be excited. But give it a little bit. Week 9, 10, 11, then you can really get to see what this team's going to be. Injuries are going to happen. Depth chart's going to change. Guys are going to come in. Guys are going to get cut. It's going to change a lot from here we are on July 31st to when we play in September. So, but yeah, excitement, it's good to be excited. People should be excited because there is new change. People start at the top, starts at the top down. We got people in the right spots football-wise to operate a football team that should be better this year. And that's the expectation. It is raised, so absolutely.
Absolutely. Now to wrap this up, Ryan, I only have a couple more questions for you, sir. But first one being 99 problems. Mr. Chase Young, obviously returning from injury. A lot has been said about the young man. I personally believe that he could have a very big year this year if he comes in with the chip on his shoulder that he does have. In your opinion, what are you expecting out of Chase Young? What have you hearing from camp? Does he look a lot better?
I expect him to show up like a number 2 pick should show up. The famous Mike Tomlin quote saying, I don't want to lose enough games to have a guy like you. Well, when you combine an athlete that looks like that and a football player like Chase Young, you have a potential defensive player of the year candidate. And that's what he can be. And what I really like this offseason, really since we've really seen him for a full slate of games in 2020, was his ability. He's had a lot of time to sit back and say, I want to evaluate my game both from a mindset perspective, how I prepare my body for practices, games, and how I can go and operate at full strength and win on game days. And early in camp, from what I've seen and from what I've heard, is that his willingness to improve his pass rush repertoire. He went with Montez to Ohio State to work with Larry Johnson. That's good work. That's a willingness to improve your game. Win to the inside, win to the outside. A lot of the time at Ohio State, he consistently wanted to threaten the outside shoulder. Win because he's the biggest, fastest, strongest athlete on the field. It just doesn't work at the NFL level. You can still be a high-level athlete, but the TJ Watts, the Myles Garretts, win to the inside, the win with power and win with leverage, and they can also win to the outside with flexibility and speed too. So if I'm an offensive tackle, if I'm Charles Leno, if I'm Andrew Wiley, Braden Daniels, and I see Chase Young lining up in 2020, I'm protecting that outside shoulder. But now I can't overset. I have to slide back up. I have to protect that inside hand. Well, if I get over my toes, then he bull rushes me and gets his hands inside and blows me off and puts me on my backside, and I'm looking up at the sky. And now my quarterback's down. So Chase Young wants to get paid. Montez Sweat wants to get paid. Cam Curl wants to get paid. The expectations, look, none of those guys are the number 2 overall pick. I get Chase has been through the crap that he's been through with his injuries, the leader that he is, both in the community and on the field. But it's time to show up. Big boys in the middle have shown up every single day for multiple years. Montez showed up a lot last year. Now it's time for 99 to show up. We've seen him as a leader, like I mentioned. I'm interested to see how Chase Young shows up from week 1 against Arizona because he's a guy that should be Defensive Player of the Year candidate, the talent that he has, just has to execute. This is year 4 already.
And Washington added a running back today, Ryan, in Derek Gore, adding him to this running back room. So my question to you, how do you see the running back room and the usage being pushed around? Because Brian Robinson, obviously in the back half of last season, got a lot of carries where Antonio Gibson was kind of put on the back burner dealing with an injury. How do you think this is going to shape out? This is one of the most, I think, intriguing prospects or groups on this offense just because their usage is so different.
Yeah, and I'm excited that week 1, they used Brian Robinson in space, which is great. Because I remember look back at the Atlanta game, seeing him in space. You're that corner for Atlanta. I forgot his name. It's escaping me now. But trying to tackle B-Rob in space, you're going to get run over. You're going to put on a highlight tape. No, there's not a single corner in this league that wants to tackle Brian Robinson one-on-one. Hey, exactly right. So, but this running back group, when pads get on, Chris Rodriguez, who runs with violence, I think is going to open some eyes for some people too. As you turn on his tape at Kentucky, someone that really plays with his story with his mom, and it is a story where a guy just plays with a certain type of passion to his game that you just rally around. He's someone when you get in pads, along with B-Rob, Antonio Gibson, guys that have that 215-pound bulk that also can create not inside the tackles, but also outside the tackles. This running back group, it's not a sexy group with two guys and a JD McKissick type, your third down back in space. They got plenty of those guys from an explosiveness perspective, but they're going to be a team that can run just down your throat, and they can also create outside the tackles as well. So everything, again, comes back to the front five and their alleys to create and what the enemy will do as far as motions and different things to switch up backside and stuff like that. But this running back group's got a lot of big boys, a lot of talent. And if I'm an NFC East team coming into FedEx Field in January and I got Brian Robinson, Chris Rodriguez, Antonio Gibson running hard down the tracks in a vacant alley, for me, I don't want to tackle him. So this running back group's, it's going to show up, and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, that would make 4 of us in this room. I don't think any of us want to deal with that except for Reed maybe on the weekends. But last question I have for you, sir. And this is a really particular one because, Emmanuel, I want to take a step back from a grand view. Like, imagine we take ourselves back to May and the selection of Emmanuel Forbes has just happened. If you could go in the future and look at the first couple weeks of training camp, and now knowing what has happened so far, are you kind of discouraged? Are you lukewarm? Are you just the same? Or are you actually intrigued and impressed with how Forbes has done so far?
I'm excited. I am, because he's also going to be tested every single day by Terry, Jahan, and Curtis and the other names in that building. And I look at Emmanuel, and still, we have not seen the pads on yet. So I want to see how his twitch, how his physicality. He's not a guy that's going to be a power guy on the outside, dominate you at the line of scrimmage, like a Keely Ringo type of player that was in this class, physicality that slipped a little bit now with Philadelphia. But his length and his ability a stigma that gets along with these ball hawk corners, Trayvon Diggs, Marcus Peters, those types is, what are they doing when they're not picking off passes? Are they a liability in coverage? That's not Emmanuel Forbes. So when we get the pads on, they really start getting work. Terry talked about it today as far as his physicality and the routes that he runs, getting into guys' chests and really bumping guys out of the way. You look at Emmanuel Forbes' frame, he's not the biggest guy in the world, but he plays he plays strong. He has good play strength at the point of attack, at the catch point. So I haven't been disappointed. I'm intrigued with Emmanuel Forbes week 1 against Arizona, whoever they roll out there. It's not going to be Kyler. Is it Colt? Is it Clayton Tune they drafted from Arizona? Who knows? But look, he's going to be tested every single day at practice. He's got the skill set to be a dominant ball hawk in this league. There's a reason why he went high in round 1. Teams value those types of players. Going to be tested every single day. He's going to have opportunities because the front 4 is going to get home. Even the front 5, we've seen that bear front look this week at camp with Phil Mathis in there. Good luck if you're an opposing front 5 stopping that group, which also opens up opportunities for guys on the outside to make more plays. So look, I'm not discouraged at all from Emmanuel Forbes. I'm extremely intrigued with his skill set, and he's going to be a stud for us for a long time.
And that's music to our ears after being bottom half of the league last year in turnovers, but being one of the number 1 on third down. You know, there is a disconnect, and we got to find that there. Ryan, I can't thank you enough, as always, for joining us, brother, and being able to give us your intellect and your view on this football team. Before you get out of here, would you like to plug your social media handle and your podcast, just in case anybody watching hasn't followed you yet and would like to?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, _Ryan Fowler, if you don't follow me there already. And my podcast, Commanding the Huddle, 1 episode right now. We're going to be cranking up here 2 episodes a week as we move closer to the season on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
I know there's people happy to hear that. Ryan, enjoy your Monday evening, brother. Enjoy the week. We'll see you next time.
Thanks
so
Ryan.
much, guys.
Thank you,
Appreciate
brother. It. All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, Mr. Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network.
I love Ryan.
Yeah,
I like the
dude.
passion
Yeah.
in which he speaks. It's not up there with Dan Orlovsky when he's on TV, because Orlovsky literally is just screaming at you the whole time. Like, calm down, dude. I'm just trying to enjoy my,
Right.
just drinking this water here. Chill out.
Yeah.
But Ryan does in a way where you could tell he's passionate about it, and he's right. Like, I'll never forget right before the season last year, or no, right after the start of the season, he was saying, Ron, you don't have much time. You got to right this ship in regards to the defense. And he was absolutely right. And it's that kind of passion that you really respect. But before we move on to our fan questions, our next guest here, I want to ask you guys the news about Jamin Davis. So this is his second issue, and he's in court right now. Obviously, the team is supporting him going through this. But it looks like he could possibly face some jail time. How big of news is this for Jamin in particular and this defense, Reed?
He's not going to face jail time. If I don't face jail time, he's not going to face jail time. He's
But that is Virginia. The Commonwealth is notorious.
That's true. No, that's very true.
They also
Granted, I do have a certain privilege. Yeah.
He tried to plea out, and then he was going to do 8 days in jail, and the judge was like, nah, you're doing more than that. So yeah, I actually might get 30.
Yeah,
That is crazy because
he's such a good dude too.
Well, like I told the Discord, like I could imagine if he had a DUI, if he was drunk while he was doing it, if he had a weapon in the car he wasn't supposed to, if he had drugs in the car, then I could understand the 30 days. But at this point, it seems like the judge is trying to teach him a lesson and saying, stop showing up, stop speeding, so I'm going to scare the heck out of you with this, but I'm going to at least accept, because the jail time thing is crazy, dude. I've heard of people getting DUIs going over 100 and, they go to jail type stuff, but I don't think Jamin is worthy of that. Even though you could say that he's stupid, just stop. Fix yourself, dude. Stop.
Yeah.
I think part of it also is, I think like B Mitch and JP were talking about it earlier, and there's like a school like right on the road he was speeding on. So I think that's a little bit part of it. The judge is probably like,
yeah, but if it's at 3 in the morning, I mean, come on now.
I know. I'm just saying, like, but anyway, at the end of the day, he got another speeding, like reckless, like driving or speeding, whatever it was, ticket or whatever, like previous to that too. So when you have two,
wasn't he also driving when
yes,
what was his girlfriend passed away?
Yeah. So like you said, I think the judge is like a judge could have been like, yeah, like 8 days in jail, like I can do that. But I think he's actually trying to like teach him a lesson, like, you keep doing this, you're gonna end up down a road, no pun intended, that you don't want to be on. So I think that
too,
dude. Is it gonna affect him in the season? I would say maybe not, because I think he'll be back before like week 1, like as far as if he actually does go to jail and like however many days he gets. But as far as conditioning and like in football shape and everything like that, it could jeopardize him for playing for week 1. So definitely got to get his head on straight and think about the bigger picture instead of just trying to get a rush speeding at 3:00 in the morning a couple times in basketball month.
It's just the grand scheme of things. Jamin doesn't have the ability to miss time and to deal with this sort of off-the-field nonsense under new ownership with the coaching staff that's here that gives money to the players that do everything right, that do the right thing, are good leaders. And that's not what Jamin has showcased thus far. Obviously, he's showing a little bit of belligerence and just erratic behavior, and that's something that Antonio Brown was notorious for in Pittsburgh when I saw that kind of happening. Similar sort of thing here. Jamin has to rope himself in. That's kind of the problem here. So you continue to do this, you're putting people's lives at stake, and sooner or later it's going to catch you in a very bad way. So hopefully, I'm disappointed in Jamin, but we got his back, dude. I'm sure he's going to be fine. It's just the time they brought in Cody Barton and all that jazz, not a good time to be missing time and being something off the field as well in a time that we're trying to move forward.
Somebody with his physique, though, he's going to run that yard. He might not want to leave, dude. He might not. He's going to get so svelte by doing push-ups and shit. Yeah, he's going to run it, dude. I wouldn't want to fight Jamin.
No, but you would definitely be the guy that would be like, "What's up, dude? I'll be your dude."
Yeah, I would, because I'm smart.
Man.
I want to be protected. I want to be able to eat all my food.
I am not a fish.
I'm somebody's bitch now.
All right, let's move on to our fan questions, boys. This first one is from the Colonel. As always, it's a fantastic one. He says, I've never seen the devaluation of a position as much as running back the past couple seasons. Some star running backs in their prime of the career are available. Kareem Hunt and Dalvin Cook are mentioned as possibilities for the Commanders. Now Jonathan Taylor, Colt Star, being linked to us. Are we looking? Is there fire to all this smoke, Reed?
No, it is weird. I still think that they're constantly linking us to all these, running backs and stuff. Like, that's the last thing that we need, I would say, but not the last thing, but you know what I mean? Like, but I mean, you can never turn down a Jonathan Taylor, you know what I'm saying? But it is crazy. Like, I don't put any smoke to it. I think it's just because who we are. We're just a team that's on the cusp of about 50-50. Why not throw Washington in there? But I will say it is nuts. Like, no kids are going to want to play running back anymore. No parents are going to be like, put my son in at running back, let him make less than a kicker. They're going to be like, he's going to kick these balls through those uprights right there, and he's going to make double what you're making, buddy. So,
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And Colonel, to be perfectly honest, if there's any smoke here, it's probably coming off of a spoon that Irsay's lighting underneath. Because he obviously is out of his mind the way that he's orchestrating this entire
fucking
thing.
Nuts, dude.
It is nuts. And because, dude, just pay the guy. I mean, he's carried you for 2 to 3 seasons.
Just don't tweet dumb shit.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just like, why make it public? Just deal with it in-house. And then asking Jonathan Taylor to meet with him on his bus, on the team bus, like, You couldn't leave the bathroom for that long, man. You had to come out.
He's probably offering him bumps and stuff.
Right.
You know that.
Come on, man. Let's settle this over a good line like we did.
Come on, brother.
Sixers.
I got a Kurt Cobain signed guitar pick. Here you go.
My goodness. But no, I don't think that we are looking. I think this is a sort of situation where you were just seeing the Colts going through something that Washington would normally be going through with a star player of some caliber with Bruce Allen at the helm, with Trent Williams, reminiscent of that sort of situation. So it sucks for the Colts. It sucks for Jonathan Taylor. I don't feel bad for Jim Irsay. But yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah. I think there's no smoke to it. It's like you say, it's weird that every time a player comes up for a trade or a top tier, a top player at their position is on the market or looking to sign somewhere, it's weird that Washington's always brought up. Like, it's almost like the media feels. It's like the media has been trashing us for so long. They're actually trying to like get us good players so that we can actually like be good and they can like have like a team in Washington to talk good about again. But at the end of the day, it wouldn't even make sense for us to trade for him because we'd probably have to trade either like Antonio Gibson or probably even Brian Robinson because they would need a starting running back. And the whole point of drafting guys like Brian Robinson and finding guys in the 3rd round, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round like that is to have them on their rookie contracts and first-year contracts where they're pretty cheap and you can put other pieces, pay other guys like Cam Curl on the defense or on the other team, like Montez Sweat. And, yeah, so – it wouldn't make sense for us to trade for him, and then he obviously wants to get paid, so we'd have to pay him a contract, which would definitely 100% be taken away from another guy like Cam Curl or Montez Sweat. So although he would make our offense so dynamic because he's a top tier, like tier 1 running back, I think like it wouldn't even fiscally it wouldn't even make sense. Like not even just like football roster building. Like you always want to have like great players on your team, but just fiscally wise and how you want to build your team in 2023 football in NFL, it wouldn't make sense to trade a younger running back that we have for a guy that wants a contract.
Yeah, and you'd have to pay him the contract, and they've already It's a very good point by you, Hall. And I'll also say this, like none of it really makes sense, and it's just the market. This is what they push out because they know Washington is hungry. It's one of the best things to have on social media is connection to the Commanders, even though they also trash us as much as possible.
Yeah, also part of it I think is how everyone like it was list season just a couple weeks ago, like the past month or so, and the running back room for us is rated pretty low. The receivers obviously we know are ballers, but Warren Sharp's weirdo ass put us at number 20. Yeah. So I think that like part of it is like he'll be an upgrade to that position group for that team and it'll make them better. So like I think that's part of the reason why players always get linked here, even though like as fans we look at it like like they're good, that's a good player, like we wouldn't need to add that person. But I think nationally, like obviously they look at it with less burgundy and gold eyes, so they're like, Jonathan Taylor, he's better than all 3 of those running backs combined in that room, so he would be an upgrade. But
what they're missing,
again, this isn't fantasy football. You can't just add a guy like or Madden. You can't just I'm going to trade my whole running back room for Jonathan Taylor. Like, no, that's not how it works.
This is also this lack of common sense as well, because on their part, they don't look at this team with much detail, exactly. Right? They just overview, right? But I would be willing to say, well, is Ron Rivera going to be so willing to move on from his draft picks, the crap on his draft picks, players that he brought in here, to bring in that player? And that's where the national view probably isn't putting 2 and 2 together. But let's move on to the next question from the Colonel. And this is a really good one, Hall. Street Scores Rico noted that Jack Del Rio unveiled the 5-1-5 defense in practice this week. Would you care to comment on what this means defensively? And does this also mean the devaluation of the linebacker position?
I think if you look across the league, the linebacker position is slightly getting devalued and kind of I wouldn't say getting phased out, but it's more of a less position of need type of thing. But I think we're one of the only teams that really is like, I mean, if you look at also the percentage of defenses in the NFL that are in like the nickel packages and sub packages a lot of the time is like so high at this point that a lot of teams are only putting 2, maybe 3 linebackers or 2 linebackers on the field at a time anyway. So I don't think that we're like devaluing it or like phasing it out. It's just that we're so deep at defensive line. Like you want to you can get all 5 of your best guys on the field at once. You want to do it. And now that we're so deep at defensive back, it seems like barring any injury or anything like that, you want to put your best 5 guys on the field at once, and you want to put your best 11 players on the field at once as far as their defense goes. So if that's 5 defensive linemen, 5 defensive backs, and a guy like Jamin Davis or Cody Barton that can run sideline to sideline and kind of fill those run gaps in the run game, then so be it. And as far as like what it means, I definitely think that it's not like we're not like setting like a new trend as far as like Del Rio and nothing like that. But I do think that a lot more teams are gonna, as far as like the interior pass rush is like such a big thing in NFL nowadays that I do think that guys are gonna start putting 3 interior rushers in there to get that up the middle pressure to disrupt the quarterback, as opposed to like if you don't have elite like super top 10 like top 5 outside guys on the edge, you're gonna build up in the middle, load up in the middle to get that interior rush. So if you want to put more linemen on the field, you got to subtract from somewhere. So I like where it's going, and I mean we had success with it last year, so hopefully they just build on that.
Yeah, I don't think it's a devaluation of the linebacker position. Carl, I'll be quick. Just want to say that the 5-1-5 is basically what they have encountered as offenses going empty, spreading you out and then hitting you with the run game in the middle. And so that was killing us in the run game. When the center was open, was free, they were able to get a lot of clear run games through there. Look back at Philly, that happened a lot with it. So adding that fifth man in the middle solidifies the offensive line and stalls them there. But it doesn't take away from your fact in the back end because of how many big guys you have up front. So you're small in the back end in that secondary, which allows you to be set up for any pass play action set off of that because the offense is trying to screw with you. So I don't think that it's anything other than that, Colonel. But now we are joined by our next guest, the dude who got his an autograph by Mr. Harris, our guy Deuce from In the Lab. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. How y'all doing today? First time with Mike on here. I'm excited.
Which one?
Which one?
Oh, Mike Hall. You know how we've been on here.
I was about to say, I was like,
Yeah.
we've been on here together before, Deuce. Come on. I was like, I thought we were boys. Come on.
And Deuce has been busy, and he's been at training camp every single day. Glad that he is able to go down there and experience it. So first and foremost, Deuce, before we get into the rest of our fan questions to wrap up the show, I kind of want to talk about your time there. So off the field, just talk to us about the first vision of it, what you've seen transpire and built there.
So, when we got the report that they're going to be providing transportation to camp from Dallas Townsend, I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting, right? I thought it was a great idea. And I said, okay, because last year they didn't provide any of that, right? And it wasn't no problems. Like there was space left over at the facility, for more cars to come. But obviously they anticipated more people being there from the signups, right? So I was like, okay, cool. So when I first pull up there, it's like yellow school buses pulling up there, right? So I'm like, oh, okay, yellow school. But I had no issue with the yellow school because I'm like, I'm going to Magic Camp. I don't mind getting on the bus. This is how we're going to do this. I'm pumped. I'm excited. The staff was there. Everything was just perfect. I mean, everything lined up perfectly. The lines were set up perfectly. It was easy. The whole transition going from there to the camp. I didn't even know, yellow cheese buses had AC, but the AC was pumping on all the buses. So,
oh, wow.
So yeah, man. So that was cool. Guys there. I really can't really explain it because when you walk up there, I don't know if you guys been there. I know, when you walk up and you look out, it's totally different than last year. I mean, it's like a complete 180. I don't even know if it's normal. Like, I don't even know if other fan bases see this on a regular. Like, this might just be normal, right? But it's definitely not normal to us, man. It really not. I mean, it was just like a beautiful sighting. To see all the work that was put in. The staff is excited. They're happy. They're yelling out, "It's a new era. We got new this and new that." It was a great experience.
My man, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. We're really excited to go on August 8th. I hope you're going to be able to be there, meet up with everybody from the Discord. It would be really nice to finally meet you, Deuce. But real quickly, if there's one player that has really impressed you that you were not expecting to look as good as he did, I know it's hard to do that with training camp going on. There's so much going on. But you've been there a couple days. Over the couple days, is there one player that stands out for you?
Yeah, it's like the person that's one of the persons that have been taking a whole lot of scrutiny, which is Dyami Brown. Dyami Brown has had a great camp. Some of the things that we were concerned about, the route running, like everything outside of the 9 route, the out routes, the post routes, the slants, those quick hitches, the option routes, like all of those things look so much better. He looks a little more comfortable doing those things. And he's catching the ball. He's catching the ball very cleanly with his hands. All the opportunities that he gets. I mean, you've seen a couple of highlights that was posted, him making some grabs down the field, a few times, contested grabs, not so much like jump ball, like what we're used to around here, but it's been some good coverage, good tight coverage. The ball is being led down the field, and he's making some great catches. So out of everyone, Dyami Browns is out there like, hey, look, don't forget about me. Like, I'm not going to give this up as easy as people expected. And he's been putting in a lot of work over off season, and it could be the Sam Howell effect with him, just knowing him and knowing how he likes the ball and where to get it to. But Dyami Brown is at the top of my list.
Yeah, and Terry actually made a comment about that in his presser today, saying that Sam Howell just throws such a beautiful ball, just knows where to place it for these guys that are so good deep downfield. But let's start with our fan questions. Let's hop into the octagon. Hall, I'll go to you first, and then Deuce, I'll go to you second, just to give yourself a breather. I've been asked you a bunch of questions. But this first one is from Mr. Irrelevant, Mr. Andy Lockhart in the Discord chat. Oi! Thank you. Hall, do you think Sam Howell will beat Kirk's Washington touchdown record of 29 touchdowns this season?
Ooh, well, that would be the first time since Sunday that anybody threw 30 touchdowns. First time in my life I would see somebody throw 30 touchdowns playing for Washington. I would love for that to happen, but I would say he will probably fall just short of Kirk's 29. As of right now, I got it at I think I had him 23, 24 touchdowns, passing touchdowns, something like that. I mean, he's going to probably have a couple rushing touchdowns that kind of boost the number up, but as far as passing goes, I think he'll be 25, max out of 25, something like that, which, again, second-year quarterback, first time full-time starting, I'll take that all day if he's going to throw 25 touchdowns. So I would love to see 30, but I'll go 25-ish range.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the anti-Kirkers would absolutely love for Sam Howell to do this, because giving nod and respect to Kirk Cousins is not something they enjoy doing. But I'm not gonna put that on Sam. I think Sam could get more, but like we've said, this is not something that generally happens in Washington. And my biggest concern is not the touchdowns; it's the health. I need 17 games, man. We cannot continue this quarterback carousel. I need some consistency here. And look, I love the idea of throwing for more than 29 touchdowns, but you got to be healthy for you to even get close to that. And that is a big, big concern for me right now. Is he capable of it? Without a doubt. Is this wide receiving core capable of providing him with more than 30 touchdowns and tight ends? Without a doubt. I don't want to put that stock in, because I don't want to do that again. I did that last year with Carson, and obviously they're two different people, but it's just hard for me to go that far, man. I need 17 games first. Reed?
Oh, I don't know. You didn't mention me earlier, so I figured, we were just skipping over me. But no, yeah. I mean, could he do it? Yeah. I mean, that would be ideal. I think obviously he's got like you guys touched on, he's got the weapons to do it. But I think that's putting a little bit unfair, I don't know, expectations on him. But hey, you never know, man. Quarterbacks go off these days. Quarterbacks will just go out there and start throwing dimes and touchdowns, and all of a sudden it starts adding up. Before you know it, the dude's got 35 touchdowns. So probably not, but hey, could he? Maybe. Who knows?
Boy can dream. Now this next question, Deuce, going to you from Big Tony Shivers. Thank you so much, Tony. He asks, how do you rank the NFC East head coaches? But I asked him if I could change this to coaching staffs. So how do we rank the NFC East coaching staffs, Deuce?
Oh yeah, you just I think you're trying to protect your team a little bit there. Switching up that question, Kyle.
Let me know.
I think that's a good question. You cannot and then the Eagles, they have new coaches, right? They have new OC, new DC, even though it's kind of like the same support staff. So we really don't know what they're gonna look like. And with us, we really don't know what EB is gonna look like. We all have high expectations for EB, but he might come out and flop. We just don't know. And when it comes to the Cowboys, hey, week 13 get here and they're looking at a below 500 record. Their head coach could be, fired. So I think you have to look at the Giants. They have stability. They was able to do absolutely too much with absolutely too little. So I think you have to put them at the top. And then the Eagles, right? You have the head coach, Sirianni, that's there. The support staff is kind of still there. So you have to put them in the mix. And then you have to do the Cowboys, right? Because they have consistent, like their OC is gone. Their head coach is taking over offensive play calling. I think Jerry just giving him an opportunity to see what he can do with this team. And then you look at us, right? We're bringing in EB. I think Del Rio has been doing a great job. Also think he's been kind of handcuffed a little bit because of the fact that the offense can't put up points. And we'll always, have to be conservative because we're always down. I just want him to have an opportunity to really let these boys loose and be up going into the fourth quarter by a couple of touchdowns to really maximize the talent on this team. So I think that's kind of like my order, just trying to looking at it from a cohesive and continuity standpoint.
Yeah, the Giants definitely, they have a very quality staff. We've known this for a while. Talked about when Brian Daboll first got hired, the guys that he brought in, they were phenomenal. But that being said, it's Washington number 1, the Giants number 2. Philly, I'd put it probably about 4 or 5. And then McCarthy and others, I'd probably put around 25. I have a lot of respect for Dan Quinn, of course. He's a very good defensive coordinator. But I don't trust Mike McCarthy as far as I can throw him.
And you can't throw him very far because he's fat.
I
think if we're just including, I mean, you guys basically touched on all of it, but if we're just including coordinators, head coach, Washington's got to be number 1. Come on, you can't get better than EB, Del Rio, and old Riverboat Ron. We might honestly have the best set of coordinators in the NFL. To be completely, like, they have the potential to be. That's for sure. If EB pans out, I mean, Jack Del Rio is already very good. So I'm just going to put us number 1, and everybody else is down there.
That's a good one. Now, let's go to our group discussion with this. Hall, I'll go to you first. This question from Tim Towner in the Discord chat server. Back in the day, they used to say defense wins championships. Is that still the case?
I would say yes. Like, it's definitely a more offensive league, but you definitely need your defense to hold up their part of the bargain and hold the team to, let's say, 21, 22, 24 points, something like that. Because most offensives nowadays are averaging about somewhere in like the 22 to 24, 25 points range. So if you can get a defense that can hold a team to 20, 21 points, something like that, kind of like we were last year, we just didn't have the offense to match it and to go with the defense. And kind of like Deuce said, like, we haven't really seen this defense actually play to their full potential.
Right.
Maybe in 2020 because they were like causing turnovers and just like wrecking quarterbacks, but you can also look at the quarterbacks and be like, who do they really play? So at the end of the day, we haven't seen the potential of this defense fully because they haven't really been playing with the offense hasn't put enough points up for them to play with a lead or maybe even going to halftime with a lead or going to a fourth quarter with a lead. So they can really pin their ears back
pin
their ears back and get out to the quarterback. So what was the original question? Kind of got sidetracked.
Does defense win championships?
Yeah, defense definitely still does win championships. If you, like I said, go back to a team like Kansas City. Obviously, they're led with Andy Reid, Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce. Big offensive plays, big offensive explosion. But at the end of the day, they got guys like Chris Jones clogging up the middle, getting after the quarterback. Frank Clark. They got a good secondary, young pieces in the secondary. So you still need your defense to carry the water for their side of the ball, hold a team to around 21, 24 points, something like that. But it's still an offensive league. But yes, defense can still win you championships. I just don't think it can be the driving force to winning a championship.
Yeah, if you ask the Philadelphia Eagles, they would tell you that wet grass apparently wins championships for other teams, but not for them. I do believe in this, but I also want to put the caveat in there. The Eagles, going into that Super Bowl, had a better defense than the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs were still able to get the job done. I think Paul's point is you can have a fantastic offense, but your defense has to show up in these very important situations to allow you to win these games to win championships. And so I do think, yes, that defense still wins championships, but it's not like it has to be the strong suit of the team, if that makes sense. Deuce?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even with the Eagles defense, I think they had a great defense, but with them, you have to really detail and look into their season. Would they have like a record 70 sacks or something like that? And I think seven games, at least like 50 of those came in like seven games, right? So you really have to look at their defense and when you're looking at the Super Bowl. But I think, yes, today's NFL will get you to the playoffs, right? With the passing attack and putting up numbers, but when you get into the playoffs, it reverts back to old ball defense and running the football, being able to run the football. And as we seen, you don't need like one back to do it. Most of those teams rely on a running back by committee, rather it's the quarterback, 2 running backs, a wide receiver like San Fran. It's all about running the ball and trying to control the time of possession. So yes, man, I still think, defense wins championships, right? But you have those outliers and you have those quarterbacks, but like you said, the defense has to show up. And if they don't show up, I mean, you kind of see what happened, because Jalen Hurts had one of the best performances we ever seen, and he was eating up their defense. So, they didn't win. So obviously defense didn't win that game. It was the offense.
And all that being said about last year's Super Bowl, the biggest play of the game was that special teams kick that Caleb Powell actually predicted on this show right before the Super Bowl. She said it would come down to a special teams play, and she was absolutely right. Now, let's move on to our next.
Kayla.
Yeah, hey, Kayla. Our next question, Reed. His question from Deuce Delicious. All kidding aside, do you think the new owners are so rich and dedicated to the fans that they purposely just put a halt on the purchase of Commanders gear by saying they may change the name next year? Or will they be saying, uh-oh, we just screwed up bad. Hire that Deuce guy.
Mm-hmm. I think they should hire Deuce. I don't know, both Deuces, this Deuce and Deuce Delicious. But
I'm gonna be in the
I think they're still just getting their toes wet, man.
See, I'm an S. We're different people.
You sure? I don't know. I think you guys might be the same people.
No, he DU, I'm DE.
You guys both pissing people off online, though, on Twitter. Does that ever bother you? You'll start trolling people, and people are like, it's Deuce. And you're like, God damn it, it's not me.
Right.
I think they're just getting their toes wet. I think they're testing the temperature, trying to figure out how this fan base feels. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I'm so tired of the name debate. But honestly, at this point, I just feel like Dan Snyder's, the devil's dead, dude. The devil died. I didn't think that would ever happen. The devil is gone. Whatever the new owners want to do, I'm all on board. I don't even care at this point. Just keep the team here. I'm good.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Do they purposely put a halt on the Commanders gear? I'm not sure if that is true. If they did put a halt on the comms gear, I hope that they didn't, because it's just going to create more talking, more arguments. And we're going right back to where we were. I swear, Reed has said this so many times that we live in a simulation. And it almost feels that way, dude. Like, did we really just waste the past 3 years over this crap just to go back to argue about this again? Like, what are we doing here? At some point, can we just enjoy ourselves? But regardless, I don't know, Deuce. I'm not really sure. They're smarter than I am. They have more money than I am. They paid $6 billion for this. They deserve all the credit for taking this away from Snyder. Whatever they want to do it. I'm just so tired of the damn conversation.
Yeah, I mean, me too, man. Like, I don't think they put a stop to Commanders gear. They can't just put a stop to Commanders gear, right? Like,
isn't that the
NFL? Curtis Samuel just paid what, $4 million to change his number or some crazy number like that. Right. Like, you can't just put a stop to it, right? So I don't think that's the case. But like, I have some Commanders gear, but I'm at a pause. Like, for me, I'm at a pause, because I need them to be concrete about whatever it is that they're going to do. But one of the first things they can't come in here and do is say, hey, look, we're not going back to the name that's the loudest, which is the Redskins name. Like, that's the loudest name. They don't want to come back and ruffle feathers. So what they'll say is, we're just going to push it down the road. We got other stuff to do right now. Push it down the road. Let's try to build what we need to do, take care of the things that's kind of more important right now. And we'll push that down the road. We'll leave it open, because we want those people to kind of start coming back. They are confident. And just like, I think, who was it, Mark Ian, he was like, we understand the history of the name, but it's not something that you can just easily, attack and easily deal with. It's a serious issue. But right now we have more important things to do. That was like probably the first thing that they talked about in their ownership meeting. When the name come up, we're going to say it's important. We understand tradition, blah, 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 but it's just not on our agenda right now. It's kind of down the line, So I don't know, man. Like, I'm at a pause, and I do not I hate having that conversation. I don't want to talk about
it. It goes to your point about why Magic Johnson would laugh in that interview when asked the question, because he was probably told they're going to ask you about this, and he didn't know what the laughing was going to be misconstrued as. A lot of the people who want that tried to push that image up. Now let's go to.
They should change the name to the Red Tinted Savages and just piss everybody off.
Stupid. Reed, going with you, this next question from Scoot. I haven't been around long enough, but do you guys react to highlights or do recaps of games during the season? Scoot.
I mean, yeah, we'll talk about all the games, of course, after they happen, because I mean, usually they play Sundays, we record on Mondays, so I mean, we'll do some recaps. I mean, but it's you know, it's a fun time, I guess. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, make sure you tune into that.
What Scoot is kind of asking is if we do the what a lot of the YouTube content creators do, and more detailed based, singular individual based sort of kind of pushing of episodes and everything. And like we respect that, but we most likely are just going to do our shows like this, and we recap what happened, talk to somebody, get their idea of it. But then like we also do, like I do film breakdowns. So usually I'll do the game of that week. I'll break down the film of what happened, who had a good game, who had a bad game, whatever have you. So you can always look forward to that on Twitter, but also on here. Maybe we should also
do a good Chris Berman impression after every game. You'll go over the highlights and you'll be like, yeah, he does that every week. We're like, Kyle, stop.
Jesus. It's just 20 minutes of back.
All right, now let's wrap this up with a couple more fan questions. This one from Scott Hartley in the UK. Oi! Thank you, Scott.
Oi.
All things being well and everyone's fit and firing, who's your starting secondary, and do you think the secondary is being massively underrated, Deuce?
Yeah, man. I think the unit we're going to see the most is probably a 4-1, 4-2-5-1 type defense, right? I think we did 3 linebackers maybe literally 4 times last year. So we're not going to see 3 linebackers on the field at all again this year. It really depends on the development of Quan Martin, I think, and what type of defense that we're going to see. But I think Jack is going to look at this and say, hey, look, we're going to put the best players on the field. And the best players is either the five-man front look or 6 DB look. You have Jamin out there, and I don't know what's going on with Cody Barton, because he's just like at camp. He's just like, where is this guy? You know, you have other linebackers playing in front of him, so it's really something to like pay attention to. But I think we're going to see a lot of 5-man fronts and 6 DBs for sure.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. The secondary is obviously my most intriguing battle. Not battle, but just the whole thought of it is who's going to be the starting secondary when we come out on game day. And the funny thing is, it doesn't really matter who's the starting secondary, because it's all based on packages. You could switch to a different one, guy come in, doesn't really mean that you're starting, but you're getting quality playing time. I do agree with you there. I think the biggest battle is going to be Kendall and Benjamin St-Juste. And I think it really goes to being consistency and productivity. And when they're looking for turnovers, Kendall blossomed in that sense later on in the year. Are they going to be comfortable with walking away from that so early? And the way that they have gone into these seasons before, they more like to allow these things to gel out rather than replacing a guy with a new young guy immediately. So I think for me, it's going to be Kendall on the outside with Emmanuel Forbes, and then Benjamin St-Juste is going to be in the slot with Quan Martin, kind of exchanging that in a quads dime kind of set.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that we're going to see definitely a lot of packages with 6 DBs on the field just to.
Real quick, I'm sorry. And obviously, Derek Forrest and Cam Curl, the starting safeties.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I was going to say. The safeties, obviously, you know who's going to be back there. It's going to be Cam Curl. It's going to be Derek Forrest. I think that, like you said, Kendall didn't have like the flashy like plays, but he definitely had a really solid season, one of his better seasons since he's been back here last year. As far as coverage goes.
17, bro.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, he didn't have like multiple like flashes.
Balls, man.
I know.
It's Monday.
And then
disgusting. Come on.
And then obviously Emmanuel Forbes, the first round pick, is going to be on the outside opposite Kendall, and I think it's going to come down to that's going to be another camp battle, honestly, to look out for. Like, I mean, like you said, starting technically in the NFL is not really like a big thing because so many guys there's so many packages, different packages, sub packages that guys are going to be coming in and out, rotating in and out all the time. Like starting the first play of the game doesn't mean you're like, I mean, technically you're a starter, but I mean, like who cares about that at that point? But I think one of the big intriguing camp battles is going to be outside of left guard is going to be who's going to be that slot corner. Is it going to be Quan Martin overtaking Benjamin St-Juste as a rookie? Or is it going to be St-Juste getting more comfortable in the slot and staying healthy and be able to stay on the field?
Or is Emmanuel Forbes in the slot?
Yeah, of course. And then obviously you can swap Forbes into the slot as well. But I think they're going to primarily keep him on the outside for now, just because that's where he played in college. Keep him on the either the number one, number two receiver on the outside, and let Kendall handle the other side of the field. But yeah, I think obviously, like I said, Cam Curl, Forrest, those guys are locked in. I think Kendall's going to be locked in, Forbes locked in. And it's really going to come down to Benjamin St-Juste or Quan Martin coming in the slot.
All right. Yeah. Good answer, bro.
Doing what? Doing what, Hall?
I know. Once I said that, I was like.
All right, everybody. That's going to wrap us up for this episode. On that note, let's get out of here. It's been a blast. I cannot wait till August 8th. Obviously, we'll have another episode on Thursday, so make sure you guys tune in then. But before we do get out of here, Deuce, just in case before anybody watching hasn't followed you, if you just like to supply your social media handle, kind of talk about In the Lab, and kind of talk about the movement.
Yeah, man. Everywhere you go, Red Zone In the Lab podcast on all your social medias. Yeah, man. Like we're really, trying to build something over here. Of course, I'm adding another podcast in September, which is going to be AFC based. We have one that's NFC based called Enters the Lab podcast, and of course, we have that team from DC with Caleb and Kadar. Then we have the Owner and the Huddle podcast. So, and then Red Zone in the Lab podcast. I produce all of them, and I'm just producing individually on 3 of them. So, we're just trying to give people an opportunity, if this is what they, really want to do. A lot of people like talking sports, but when it comes to structurally talking sports, it's just not for them. But, we just providing these platforms for people to come on and see if this is something that they would really like to do. And then, of course, the store is opening up. We had a soft store layout for the New Era and DC shirts, and then the official store will be opening next Friday. So we're really excited about that. And we're still doing the community stuff and the donations and things like that. So we're really excited.
Yeah,
everywhere. You are everywhere.
I know you're a very successful man. Yeah, I know you have a great vision for this. Just want to let you know, if you need a female model, Reed is sitting here. He's ready to go. Try it on for you. You got any bikinis?
It's 2023. You can't say no.
Yeah. If any bikinis or anything, Reed has.
You don't know how I feel inside.
Let's get it going. Deuce, I can't thank you enough, man. It's been a pleasure getting to know you over the couple years now, and glad to be able to see you on August 8th and enjoy that football day together. Hopefully it's not 115 degrees outside like it was last week. But it will be a pleasure to be able to see you, sir, on August 8th on Salute Day. All right, everybody. That's going to wrap us up for this episode. If you're heading out to training camp this week, enjoy it, stay hydrated, and have fun. And let us know on Twitter about your experience. We'd love to hear from you and be able to talk about it here on the podcast. All right, everybody. I'm Kyle.
The pads come out tomorrow.
Yeah. And I'm Colin Dunphy.
All right, everybody. We will see you on Thursday. I'll see you on Thursday. Washington football. Woo! What's up, everyone? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. We are releasing our own merch to support the show. If you want to rock the Burgundy Zone logo or you want to see Reed's face on your shirt, we got it. We're starting with t-shirts, hoodies, and zip-up. So if you're a fan of the show, make sure you snag one before they are gone. Check out the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can find the link in the description of the video. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.